Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to another episode of Criminally Focused. My name is Desiree, and whether you're new to my channel or you're a returning OG, thank you so much for clicking on this video. I truly appreciate your support, and I'm happy that you found me. So on this channel, we tend to talk about some pretty disturbing things sometimes, being that we're talking about true crime. But I don't make these videos because I find these stories entertaining. Not at all. On this channel, we talk about these stories to help bring awareness to what these victims had to go through. But after we talk about a story, time goes on and many times there are updates. So when that happens, I always try to do either a video or a post in my community tabs or on social media where I give you this information. If you're anything like me, sometimes you might get a little invested in these cases. We hear about the pain that these victims went through before their death and then the suffering that their family is going through after, and we start to care. So we want to stay up to date and informed as time goes on. So today I want to do just that and provide an update on two cases that were my most viewed and most commented on videos to date. These cases are very different, as one is a brutal homicide and the other is a missing persons case. However, like I said, both videos got more likes and comments than I've ever gotten before. So clearly these stories are important to you guys. And if you haven't guessed yet by the thumbnail, the cases I'm talking about are Sade Robinson, who was brutally murdered in Wisconsin, and Kaysey Yoder, who is still missing from Colorado. So yeah, both cases are very different. However, they both have had some significant updates. But before we get into those updates, as always, any information that I have gathered is from public sources, so please always do your own research to form your own opinions. I am simply here to bring you some facts and talk about them with you. So with that said, grab your coffee or whatever you're drinking or smoking, get nice and comfy, and let's get right into it.
911, what's the nature of your emergency?
So we're going to start with a story that is local to me here in Colorado, and that's the story of 35-year-old mother of four, Kaysey Yoder. Kaysey lived in Eaton, Colorado, which is about 70 miles from Denver. She lived there with her husband and her four children. Kaysey and her husband, Ethan, were very close and had been together for over 11 years. One of her children were diagnosed with something called microcephaly when they were born, which is a disability that can be incredibly severe. This left him needing not only special medical care, but also, just that special love that only the mama can give you. You guys know what I'm talking about? As you can imagine, Kaysey and him were very close. Along with her other children, her husband, and the rest of Kaysey's family and friends, he misses her dearly. On January 14th, 2024, Kaysey left her home in Eaton, Colorado, and hasn't been seen since. As it was the middle of winter, the weather outside was freezing, and I guess the temperatures in Eaton that night reached -6 degrees. Allegedly, and I have to say allegedly because I wasn't there, so I don't know. But allegedly, before she left home on foot, she told her husband that she was going to go hang out with her friend Anna. And since Anna is Kaysey's best friend, and she has been for over 20 years. Her husband really thought nothing of it. However, when Anna was questioned about what Kaysey had said, she said they didn't have plans that night. And since we don't know much about the night that Kaysey disappeared, besides that she was going to hang out with Anna and she left on foot, let's talk about some days leading up to Kaysey's disappearance. Shortly before she disappeared, Kaysey was feeling a bit sad and working through things to try to get in a better place mentally. Anna has said that just days before she disappeared, Kaysey told Anna that she had walked into the snow one night and laid down in one of those drainage pipe areas, and she was hoping that nobody would find her and that she would freeze to death. However, luckily, her husband did find her, and he was able to talk her into coming home. And now I thought about how to word that really carefully, because I don't want to tell you that and have you automatically assume that just because Kaysey had felt that way at one point means she felt that way the night that she disappeared. But when we talk about these stories, I do think it's important that we talk about all aspects of them. Despite Kaysey's mental health struggles, I just am not ready to believe that on January 14th, she left her home and laid down in the snow someplace to die. Because if that was the case, then why hasn't her body been found yet? Eaton is not a huge area, and she left on foot. People have searched up and down that town, so I just don't think that she could have gotten that far. And being that it's warm in Colorado now, you would think with no snow on the ground, her body might be able to be found easier. Like I said, I just don't want you to hear the information about what Kaysey was going through previously and not keep your eyes open, because we truly don't know what happened that night. I also wanted to mention something because it was a question that a lot of you guys have had on the other video about Kaysey's missing person flyer. On the flyer, as well as in many articles that are about Kaysey, it does say that the last place that she was seen was at the alt liquor store. However, people close to the case have told me that they're not 100% sure that is Kaysey that's seen on surveillance. So basically, don't get stuck on that fact and look everywhere. Since we last talked, Kaysey's friends and family have continued handing out flyers and spoken to multiple news outlets and searched the area for any hint at what might have happened to her. However, they have come up empty-handed. As time went on, there continued to seem to be no real movement in the case. Well, besides scammers who, I guess, contacted the family trying to get money out of them. Gross. Can you imagine trying to scam a grieving family like that? Ew. Well, guys, Kaysey's family, Anna, and the rest of her friends finally got a little bit of good news. The Weld County Sheriff's Office stated that they have now gotten the FBI involved. And as you can probably imagine, getting the FBI involved is going to open up so many more resources in the search for Kaysey. So I'm really hoping that because of this helps to bring, more leads and hopefully bring her home. So Kaysey's family created a GoFundMe to help them with the expenses of hiring a private investigator and paying their retainer fee. And I'm also happy to tell you guys that they did find a private investigator and that retainer fee has been reached. However, lawyers are expensive and retainer fees typically don't last very long. So I'm going to share the GoFundMe link in the description box. If you can donate, it's going to go towards the ongoing private investigation into what happened to Kaysey. But as always, when I put up a GoFundMe, seriously, don't feel bad if you can't donate. Completely understand. Just by sharing Kaysey's missing persons flyer, posting about it on social media, or sharing this video will also help. Kaysey's family created a Facebook page. If you want to go check that out, I will link that below. And you can go follow that page for more up-to-date information quicker. And on a side note, when I Googled Kaysey's name last time, I did a video, only a couple articles popped up. Well, I'm going to pop this on the screen now, but look at my search results this time. I am so glad to see that there has been more coverage on her story.
Update now to a heartbreaking case. Family and friends of a missing Wells County mother of four desperate for answers. She's been gone for 3 months without a trace.
All new here at 10, Fox 31's Aaliyah Sims has learned her loved ones have started fundraising to help with that search. Aaliyah.
Yeah, Jeremy, Kaysey Yoder's best friend, Anna Green, tells me they are now seeking a private investigator's help to help find that 35-year-old. They are really trying to stay positive as they explore for avenues for answers.
I will never give up until we find my best friend. I will never give up.
But her loved ones refusing to give up hope on bringing her home.
The more days that pass, the more that you start to get that feeling that something bad happened, and that has been really hard to deal with. And hopefully a private investigator might be able to think of things or come up with things that the police haven't thought of, or just be able to make progress.
She says time is of the essence to find the mother of four.
The next case update that I wanted to talk to you about tonight is regarding 19-year-old Sade Robinson. Sade was brutally murdered in Milwaukee, Wisconsin after going out on a first date with 33-year-old Maxwell Anderson. On April 1st, 2024, after getting drinks and dinner at local establishments, Anderson allegedly killed Sade after their date. He then dismembered her and left pieces of her remains around Milwaukee. Remains were actually found at local areas such as parks, railroad tracks, and along the beach of Lake Michigan. And you know, something that I forgot to mention in my previous videos, but this age gap between Sade and Anderson is an issue in my eyes. Maxwell Anderson is 33 years old and Sade was 19. That's a 14-year age difference. And I know some of you guys aren't going to agree, but I'm sorry. In my opinion, most of the time, there's a huge difference mentally between somebody who is 19 and somebody who is 33. Like, why is he trying to date somebody that was born when he was 14 years old? To me, that's just a red flag. Like, gross, dude. I think it's safe to say Anderson has many issues besides just being a psychopath. Due to surveillance footage, GPS tracking information provided by Sade's phone, along with many other things, Anderson was detained by police on April 4th. Then on April 12th, he was charged with intentional homicide, mutilating a corpse, and arson in the death of Sade Robinson. In his home, they found a blood-stained comforter as well as blood in other areas of the home, such as the stairwell. After his initial hearing, Anderson's next court date was scheduled for May 16th. Apparently, this hearing was what is called a discovery hearing, which, according to the American Bar Association, basically is where both parties discuss the evidence and witnesses that will be present at trial. I thought it would be easiest to pull up a page from the Wisconsin court website and go over what is shown online. So basically, if we start at the bottom, the screenshot starts on May 16th. The court filings show that Anthony Cotton, who is Maxwell's defense attorney, and Ian Van Skazan appeared for the prosecution. It also shows that the defense attorneys are asking for more time to review the evidence in the case. According to the news, Anderson's attorney asked for 2 months to review everything, and that there's almost 2 terabytes worth of data to go through, and mainly it's video. That's a lot of information, including surveillance video, bus video, traffic cam video, and not to mention all of the forensic crime lab reports. So I'm not sure if these court documents from the discovery would actually list the evidence and the witnesses that both sides have. But if you're a lawyer or if anyone knows, you'll have to let me know in the comment section below. But if you guys want to go over these documents, I can see if I can get a hold of some of my family in Milwaukee and see if any of them are able to go and pick up these documents. Sheena Scarborough, who is Sade's mom, filed a wrongful death lawsuit on June 3rd, where she's asking for damages for a wrongful death, violation of the Wisconsin Constitution, battery, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. In the court documents, Sade's family alleges that after Maxwell murdered Sade and sold his house, which we're going to get into, a finger was actually found that belongs to Sade, and it was found on the property. The Milwaukee County Sheriff's Department, however, denies those claims. So in this wrongful death lawsuit, Sade's family is seeking the rights and any financial benefit that Anderson may get because of the murder. And when I heard this, it brought back a memory of something that I had heard previously on a different case I was listening to. And this is something called the Son of Sam's Law. This law gets its name from serial killer David Berkowitz and came about in the 70s. And guys, I could do a whole video on this. It's a pretty interesting law, but I don't want to lose sight of what this video is about, and that is Sade. So without getting into the history of the Son of Sam's laws, let's look at Wisconsin and see how this law could apply to Maxwell Anderson. It seems like although Wisconsin doesn't allow criminals to make money off of books and movies, that doesn't include other memorabilia they could sell, commonly called Murdabillia. Examples of this include Charles Manson's hair or greeting cards signed by a famous serial killer, or maybe something as silly as a napkin that a convicted serial killer has used. People pay big bucks for this kind of stuff. And unfortunately, convicted murderers have often found this loophole as a way to profit off of their murder. So I think it's great that Sade's family is asking to include all media and any profit whatsoever that Anderson could get. Some people have questioned how Sade's family can sue Maxwell for a crime that he is not convicted of, which I think is a reasonable question. So, according to Wisconsin statute of limitation laws, a family has up to 3 years to file a wrongful death suit. And from everything I read online, it doesn't seem like a criminal has to be convicted of a crime before a family can actually sue them for wrongful death. For example, in Maxwell's case, court proceedings for the death of Sade take place in the criminal courts, and the wrongful death lawsuit takes place in the civil courts. So get 'em, Sheena. We support you 100%. As far as finding the rest of Sade's remains, investigators are still searching. The latest remains that were recently located were in Waukegan, Illinois. On May 11th, a person who was walking along the Waukegan Municipal Beach discovered that there was a body part that had washed up from Lake Michigan. This time it was a right arm that investigators say belonged to a female. The Waukegan Police Department is currently working with investigators in Milwaukee to determine if the arm belongs to Sade. As of now, I believe they're still waiting on the DNA results. From what I read, if the arm is found to be Sade's, then it will be transported back to Milwaukee where the investigation is taking place. And if it isn't Sade's, then I guess a separate investigation in Waukegan, Illinois is going to have to begin. So Sade's mom is now pleading with Anderson's family in hopes that they'll be able to talk some sense into him and he will tell investigators where the rest of Sade's body is. My fear, however, is that if he discarded her remains in Lake Michigan, that they'll never actually be found. Lake Michigan is huge. According to my research, the surface area is 22,000 square miles. And I'm not really a numbers person, so if you're like me, just know that according to the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources, Lake Michigan is the 5th largest lake in the entire world. That being said, I do hope that her body can be recovered for the sake of her family. I know that in interviews they have said how important that is to them, and I can't blame them. I would want to be able to bury all of my child too. It's honestly a disturbing and very sad thought. On May 3rd, while he was in jail, Anderson did sell his house, the one that he allegedly murdered Sade in. According to WISN 12 in Milwaukee, it looks like he sold the house to 2 different companies for $195,000, money that I do believe should go to Sade's family. I have listed the family's GoFundMe in the description box. Also, if you want to go and check that out.
Well, Mary, in a brand new statement, Sade Robinson's mom is pleading with the parents of Maxwell Anderson. She's asking them to convince him to confess to where Sade Robinson's remains are.
We are at the point where we want to cut to the truth, cut to the heart of the matter.
Verona Swanigan is the attorney for Sheena Scarborough, the mother of Sade Robinson. Prosecutors say in April, Maxwell Anderson killed Robinson before dismembering her body and scattering body parts at different locations. In this letter, Scarborough is pleading with the parents of Maxwell Anderson to get him to confess.
His family should have the ability to influence him. If they are in any way, shape, or form decent human beings, they should take steps to convince him to tell the truth.
My heart hurts for Sade's family and friends as well as Kaysey's. Sade was so senselessly taken from this world, and now her family is left hurting and wondering why. Kaysey walked away and seemingly vanished. Her family is also hurting and wondering why. Hopefully the updates that have recently come out will lead to answers and justice. Like I said, I will be closely following both cases and praying for both families. But those are the updates that I have for you guys. I guess some takeaways from the video. Kaysey Yoder is still missing. And even if you're not in Colorado, please keep your eyes open. And for Sade, let's continue to let her story be known. You know, obviously I have to say innocent until proven guilty for legal reasons. But let's be honest, with all of the evidence stacking up against the dude, in my opinion, it's pretty clear that Maxwell Anderson is in fact Sade's killer. And if that's the case, the entire world should know what a monster he is. You know, there's also a light that Sade brought about to everyone whose lives she touched. And that light can still go on even after her life was cut short. So please keep sharing her photos. Keep sharing the memories of Sade to keep her memory alive. This was kind of a short video, huh, guys? But hopefully you were able to get a little bit of information that you might not have known if you hadn't watched the video. If you already knew all this stuff, it was fun hanging out with me, right? If you enjoyed watching this video, please consider hitting that like button and subscribe button. I would so greatly appreciate it. And to all of my new subscribers, hello and welcome. Thank you so much for being here. All right, guys. Until next time, stay safe and stay focused. Bye.